What's up, you guys? I'm your host, Andrea, with From Mrs. to Ms. I'm being joined today by Amber and Athena. They are also known as Ex-Wives Undercover. Welcome to the show, you guys. So excited to have you.
Thank
Excited
you.
to be here.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to introduce you guys. So this is Athena and Amber, the dynamic duo behind Ex-Wives Undercover, the podcast that dives deep into the seedy tactics of love criminals to help women protect themselves and find happiness psychopath free. Love it. So Athena lives in Washington State with her husband and their 4 children. Three girls and 1 boy. Okay. She's a multi-talented mom who loves singing, gardening, cooking, and escaping to her family's cabin for some sun and relaxation. Before becoming a podcaster, Athena owned a thriving lash extension and skincare boutique in Kirkland. Amazing. And then Amber, she is in Oregon, and she's a devoted dog mom to her Pomeranian Pekingese. Is that how you say that? Pekingese mix?
Pekingese?
He's a Pekingese.
There it is.
Yeah,
I know,
his name
like that.
Boogie.
Boogie. I love that. With a career as a global communications professional, Amber balances her busy work life with decorating her new home, exploring nature, and cherishing time with loved ones. Together, Athena and Amber shine a light on toxic love stories, from romance scams to gaslighting and double lives, sharing survivor stories and offering listeners the tools to recognize red flags, rebuild their confidence, and reclaim their power. I am so excited to have you guys here. Just based on that alone, I'm like, yes, let's dig in, right?
There's a lot to dig into.
There's a lot to dig into. All right. So I need to know. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning. So what inspired you to start Ex-Wives Undercover and focus on exposing toxic love stories? Like, how did this all begin? Where are you getting your stories from? Tell me all.
Oh, should I begin with this, Amber? A little bit?
Go for it.
Wow. Okay. So I am ex-wife number 1 to Brandon Johnson. Amber would then marry my ex-husband and be ex-wife number 2.
Yes.
Andrea, you didn't know this? What?
And I did my research and I missed this part somehow. It just didn't
Yes.
click for me. Oh my God.
The 2
Yes.
ex-wives in the title. Yes.
Ex-Wives Undercover. That is
Ex-Wives
why,
Undercover.
and that is how we came to be. So initially we wanted to share our story. So in seasons 1 and 2 of our podcast, Amber and I go through the craziness of what we went through, all the way to multiple women he was with while married to Amber in other countries, using my daughter, Amber's stepdaughter, Sydney, in all of his scheming and scamming. He pit Amber and I against each other for years. We hated each other.
I was just going to
He pretended to be myself and my husband for over a year on an online communication app where he responded as himself, as me, as my husband for over a year to make the story believable that I was this whole person. So Amber would dislike me. And then later in Amber's marriage is when things started to unravel at around the 5-year mark, I would say. And she finally reaches out to me and we uncover that multiple other women, scandal, fraud, money laundering. And then towards the very end, we helped to, by our podcast, create awareness, because he was still in real time as we were doing the podcast, scamming and scheming other businesses and women. And then we helped to put him in prison in California. So,
and is that where he is now?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the condensed version.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That was very condensed.
It was very condensed. But we didn't even know about podcasts really. When we first started, we were going to write a book. And then I think it was Athena's daughter was like, you should really do a podcast because that's where everyone's on these days. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. So
at what point did you become friends? Basically to go, you know what, we need to do this together. At what point did it get to there?
You know what? We had one thing in common. It was Sydney. And I think that drew us together, just finding out the truth, I would say, right, Amber? And then realizing that we were so alike.
Yes. Wow. I mean, it happened really immediately. Is the minute because essentially we didn't talk for 5 years. We were kept apart. I had her blocked and we had restraining orders. So we couldn't talk to each other and all these things. So we didn't talk for 5 years. So when I finally was just at the end of my rope, I just said, screw the restraining order. I don't care if I get in trouble. I'm going to just reach out to her. And from that moment on, it just clicked. and
That
we
is
were besties
crazy.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is such an incredible story. And you have to think, I mean, if that's just one person out there, how many other are they're doing? And I'm sure you have years of podcasting here with these stories. This it's like a dirty John, right?
Yes.
A whole
Oh my
the whole
gosh. Yes.
thing. Oh my
Well, and that's
gosh.
the
That
thing, right? Is that people reach out to us. This was just going to be a one and done, tell our story, be done with it.
Mhm.
And then
yeah,
so many people caught on to it, and it
yeah.
kind of just spread like wildfire. And then everyone's like, well, I have a story too, and I have a story. And so that's how it kept going.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yes.
most of the people are reaching out, kind of going, "Hey, this is what I got going on," and then you're able to. Are you like you do almost like an interview with them and find out their whole story and tell it, or right? Is that how you're kind of doing it?
We
Like you
help
have
them
to
to,
be,
like, we do it together with them.
yeah,
Sometimes we help narrate things. We bring in people who lived alongside of them, their family members, their friends.
yeah.
And we always give the opposite party, normally it's the man, not always, but we always give them the opportunity to speak or defend themselves, or we at least
Okay,
reach out. Nobody has ever gotten back to us.
yeah.
Yeah.
But your ex knew that you were doing this the whole time. He never wanted to come on and tell his side of it. He knew he was wrong in every way, right?
Oh
Well, he's
no.
probably the
There's
only one we
yeah.
didn't give the opportunity to
Yeah,
Oh, you
come
didn't
he's
even
the
on.
only
want to.
We, long story short, we actually started with a fake name for him on the
Okay,
podcast. We were calling him
okay,
Ben. His name's Brandon, but we were calling him Ben, and we didn't want him to catch wind because he's
yeah,
litigation happy. So he
okay.
did eventually learn about it. He did take us to court. We won. But because we outed about halfway
What
through
grounds did
telling
you
the
win
podcast,
on
we outed
that
his
you were
real
able to
name
speak your
because we
freedom of
learned that he
speech?
was going by a fake name in
Mm.
California and preying on women. So we were like, you know what? We're probably going to get in trouble for this, but we're going to try it anyways. We're just going to use Brandon. And lo and behold, we found a woman in California, the woman that he is now in jail because of what he did to her. So
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. So we did not get his opinion on that one, but we did kind of
Yeah, of
Yeah.
yeah. I
Well,
don't
to
know.
stay safe too, we had to keep it under wraps for a while, just for our own
course.
safety.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like Amber said, as soon as we got the thumbs up from our attorney, that we could move forward with using his real name, we blasted it, and boy, did the multiple other girlfriends and women pour in from before me, during my marriage, during her marriage, after, and
How many are we
Yeah.
yeah.
talking here?
Oh
Oh,
On
gosh. I think we stopped
and
counting.
living separate
It was
lives, like
so
with all of
much.
them, and trying to keep everybody
yes,
separate and every
yes,
wow,
yes, yeah. He was
wow.
married to Amber, and he had two or three girlfriends. One was even in another country.
Mhm.
Um pretending to live in two different states. He made me think he lived in Washington where he was actually in Oregon, and he was driving back and forth almost every day pretending, because we shared custody of our daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, women, a lot of women in California, I would say California, Washington are and I don't know about Oregon, maybe. You never know. It's always a surprise when I read my emails. You never know who's going to
Yeah.
pop in and say, "Hey, I know your ex-husband."
Yeah. We just got one the other
Yeah.
day, actually.
Did we? Sorry.
Of somebody
Yeah,
saying,
sorry. Yeah. No, we did. We just got
Oh, that's
another
okay.
person
That's okay.
the other day. She was like, I realized, I got turned on from Spotify. I said, you should, check out this podcast, Ex-Wives Undercover. And she's like, I'm looking at the picture. I'm like, I think I know that guy. She's like, I did. He reached out to me in 2019 and we were supposed to meet. And, he just, it just didn't work out. But my friends were like, I don't know, something seems off. But that was when he was getting arrested for, 13 counts of felony
Yeah.
theft. And so she dodged
Oh
a
my God.
bullet for sure.
Yeah,
Oh my
she did.
God. Wow. That's crazy. So what do you think it was that kind of that attracted you to, was he just charming and did you sense anything right off the bat? Or did it just really take a while where you started to be like, you know what? There's a lot of little inconsistencies here. Was it more like that?
Oh gosh. Well, for me, it was let's see, 2007. So long while ago, and he was in a totally different place in his life then. He was a
Right.
small town boy, portrayed himself as just a really good, down to earth, financially stable, kind guy. I was out of a divorce and was just dabbling and dating a little bit. And he was like the first, what I thought normal guy, down to earth that I connected with. But what we would all begin to know is that he grooms, well, before he starts the grooming, I should say, he's a chameleon. So he asks little questions that are so light, and then slowly it's like, wow, we have that in common. Oh, wow, you did that too. Wow, you are that too. But it's all facade.
Yeah.
So I guess that is kind of the grooming. What do you think, Amber?
Yeah, same. Yeah, I remember telling my mom when I first met him, "Oh my God, we have so many things, in common. And he likes to hike, and he likes to travel, and he likes to do all these things." When in fact, he didn't
Like,
agree, he didn't do any of those things, quite honestly. But for me, he did the classic love bombing. And honestly, I didn't even know what that was back in 2013. I had no idea. So I just was caught up in this whirlwind romance, and he proposed in 6 weeks. And then I quit my job and moved to Seattle area to be with him. So really, it's like you don't have time to think about. There's certainly red flags, but I kind of pushed them aside. I was so excited, and it wasn't until I got to Seattle and realized I have no place to go. I just quit my job. I have a new job that is expecting me to start there up in Seattle. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? This is not adding up,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So how long between Athena when you got divorced and then when Amber you got with him and started dating? How long? Was it a very long time
I
in
would
between?
say he refused to like go through the divorce and sign paperwork. So legally, I think there was maybe a year to year and a half. What do you think, Amber? But
Well, you were
probably more like
divorced in
2.5.
2013, March of
And you met
2013. I met him
in 2014.
October, early November
Yeah.
of
Of
2013.
13.
So yeah.
So really,
So
and
even though
then
they weren't
2013?
together.
Amber?
Yeah, I met him in 2013.
Oh, I thought it was 2014.
So she filed divorce in 2012, but it took a year to finalize. So they weren't together. So it was probably like 2 years apart.
Wow.
He
Even
was
though
just
technically they weren't divorced until 2013.
Yeah.
wow.
Oh,
So
didn't take long at all.
So the not at all.
He
Divorce
can't
in
be
March.
alone. So.
No.
Yes, absolutely. Divorce in March, and then you're with him by October, November, and 6 weeks into that married.
And still begging
And then,
to be back with me, and probably had 3 other girlfriends. So
true. Yeah. He was dating someone. He was buying Christmas gifts for someone as he was proposing to me. And and still stalking Athena and meddling with her and her new boyfriend and
undergoing chemotherapy. Probably was it that one or a different one? Maybe he had cancer all the time. Just different forms.
Oh, cancer. I said he was telling you.
There's that too. Yeah. Oh, it's despicable.
And were there times when he was going out with these other women that, I know you said, Amber, you were kind of ignoring the red flags. I think, Athena, you were obviously with him for a lot longer before that, when you started to recognize little things that were throwing you off, but you weren't quite ready maybe to accept it, I would assume, or believe it. You want to
absolutely
believe the best in everybody, I'm sure.
Just
what
being
was
really
that like?
naive.
Yeah.
I think being in my mid-20s, I was really naive. I'd been married previously, but with a very loyal, honest man. Had nothing to do with why we ended. And so
you didn't know any different. Yeah.
I didn't know any different. My mind didn't even go there. It could never have gone there in a million years. Until you've had the experience, your mind shouldn't go there, because it is the most bizarre encounter when you are actually with a person who is a sociopath or a psychopath or narcissist. So I would say that he's so charming, and I was so naive that combination really was easy to get over on me, and to explain himself. Like, he pretended he was building this home and he was going to stay with me for a few weeks. But the house wasn't ready, and he had to move out of his place that he was renting. And so, I saw red flags. I saw things were adding up. It didn't feel right. I knew that. And I followed my gut. In the end, I find out, and it was him saying, you're already, you have your own home. You're so established. I just said that because I wanted you to be impressed with me. And I just didn't know how to stop with that lie. And I just admire you so much, but I have been saving all this money. I'm ready to put down payment, and I just know how to come back from this. And so that was the first big one for me. And then it was always like reverse psychology. Oh, it's okay. I like you for you. No, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. Like that kind of a thing. So he was good.
Wow.
Yeah. It's tough because he believes his own lies.
Yeah.
And so when someone cries and they feel so strongly, you're like, well, how could he be lying if he's so just not backing down? With
Yeah.
me, he would present me with fake legal documents. So if he was trying to, you know, say Athena's this bad mother, he would give me a fake legal document that I didn't know any different. It's
You were
not,
believing it.
I'm
Yeah.
not privy. It's not public information. I can't go to the court and be like, I need their private parenting plan or whatever. They
Yeah.
won't give that to me. So
Yeah.
he would doctor up and sign her name and everything and provide me these fake legal documents. So even though you feel like there's
Garnishments.
fake garnishments, things like that, like you
Wow.
feel like the red flags there, but then he's showing you legit
Proof.
legal
Right.
documentation. So it throws
Yeah.
you off. And then as far as like other women, I never in a million years thought he was cheating on me. He
Yeah.
was with me 24/7. I mean, he slept there at night. He was there in the morning. What we found out was he was cheating during the middle of the workday. So he would kiss me goodbye, go to work, and I'm assuming he's at work. Well,
Yeah.
he had
Too
cancer.
late.
So
Yeah.
he filed a fake FMLA. So he wasn't actually going to
Oh,
work. He would
what?
go to another woman's house during the
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
And then
wild.
if he
It's
would,
wild.
with one of the other girlfriends, she would not see him like only once a month, once every few weeks, because she lived where his mom lived, very close to
Yeah.
her town. And he's the
Yeah.
only child. And he'd be like, oh, my mom needs me. There's plumbing issues or this and that. And he would make an excuse to go to his mom's house for the day. And he would see the girlfriend really quick on the way.
Oh my gosh.
So
And how did
I
you
wasn't
meet
really alerted to these women.
the other women? Yeah. And honestly, why would you, or why would you think any different?
Yeah.
Like you said, he was with you 24/7 for as much as you knew. You have all of these documents talking about, Athena in the past. Everything is lining up, but it's not, underneath.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did
Exactly.
you meet Amber?
So I met him on Tinder, which was the
Okay.
very beginning of dating apps. And so I had never used a dating app, nor I had even heard of these dating apps. I was on
Yeah.
Match.com previously, but
Mhm.
I learned about it. It was really spiking that summer of 2013. And my
Yes.
roommate at the time was like, oh, there's this networking app called Tinder. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I downloaded it, but didn't use it. And then when
Yeah.
I went to Seattle to visit my friend, she, was having a hard time meeting friends. And I was like, oh, there's this networking app called Tinder. My roommate told me about it and you should try it. And she's like, well, it looks like a dating situation. I was like, I know, but
And
you said it
networking.
was a networking app. So I don't know. But I used my own profile. And so me and her were in her apartment and I was swiping whatever right on everyone, not realizing that it was like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in you or whatever. And so it tracks where you're located. So I was in Seattle at the time. So obviously
Sure.
my ex showed up. And then it wasn't until I was driving home the next day when my messages were going off. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is a dating thing. And then he
Yeah.
just was relentless. He was just texting me and emailing me all day, every day. And
Charming.
I was like, okay, well, I mean, I
Very
guess
charming.
I'll
Mhm.
go with this.
A persistent charmer.
Yep.
Wow. So
So
are
that was the
either of
first
you
entry into
remarried now, or are you you're in a relationship?
I'm
Yeah.
married.
You're married.
Had two
Okay.
more
And
married, had two more children.
oh my
Um,
gosh, that's right.
yeah.
Lot of kiddos. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So did that
It's wild.
ever, I mean, the dating sites, did it just deter you from getting back on those, or how do you feel about those today? I mean, I guess there's a lot of more verification purposes, but still.
Yeah. I mean, I think we even did an episode on that, how to navigate and be really careful. And you still I know the sites have taken extra measures to confirm who you are. And a lot of them you have to be tied, I believe, to social media profiles. But imagine how many fake profiles people create all the
Profiles are,
time.
yeah.
So I think if you're really on a mission to scam or be a hoe bag or something or whatever you want to do, date around, I'm sure you could figure that out or find a way. I think it's just the ones that are serious need to be ready to be cautious and look into those people. But I mean, I met him on Match.com, Brandon. And then years later, when I met my husband, it was actually on Tinder. And I was very aware that it was a dating site, not like Amber at that point. But he was, I think, my 14th date.
Okay.
And I was like, this is the last one I'm going to go on because I cannot handle this. This is awful. Dating sucks.
Oh, that one. Isn't it?
Oh, it's so shitty. And I was like, one more, because I promised myself that I would follow my rules, my gut instinct, red flags by. So it was quick. It was like next, next, next. And I wasn't hardcore evil or mean. I just kept true to what I felt. I was never going to let a Brandon in my life again. And then I met my husband, Chris, and it was just like, okay, I like you. You seem normal. This feels good.
I love that. So I think that was a key point that you said with the dating sites for those that are a little bit apprehensive about it, listening to these stories. I know I'm like, oh shit, like that is some scary stuff, and I've been through a few things. I should probably get with you and get my story on. But I think that what you said was really good, is to really trust your gut and be true to yourself and notice the red flags for what they are. And not try to ignore them. We're always trying and playing on potential and hope and, it can be okay. And we're shoving a square peg in a round hole when it's just like, get out, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you, so you kind of said people reach out to you with your stories and stuff. How do you kind of determine what ones you're going to feature? Or is there certain criteria for those that are listening, may have a story, want to reach out? What are you looking for?
Go ahead, Amber.
Gosh, it's a variety of things.
She's the pro.
Try to, right? We get a lot. Some of them are, that they're going to be pretty short. So it has to be something that we can tell over multiple episodes, and it has to be juicy enough, and they have to be willing to have other people come on. So friends, family members, because we want to have like a really comprehensive story, not just a one-sided, this is what happened, because there is outside influence. Like the mom might be like, yeah, I saw the red flags and she, I tried to tell her and, she was still in it. Or the friend saying, oh man, I told her to kick him to the curb, but, but we still stayed by her side. We didn't want her to, not be friends anymore. I don't know. We just get like a really comprehensive story, but we cover everything from domestic violence to your cheating stories to your scammer type, fraud. Financial fraud, and like the con.
A little bit of everything. Yeah.
And we like to blend, like in season 6, it'll be a blend of different types. So many people can relate. Some of them are a little bit more dramatic, or it's really sad. Some of them have a lot more domestic violence, but even the ones that Amber and I, because like we've lived through the craziest of crazy. So now when we see things, we're like, okay, that's not that crazy, but it's interesting, because then we'll have so much feedback where people very much related to that story. So I think we like to mix it up, so everybody has a little bit of something that might help them.
I think that's
places,
great. We got
states, countries.
Exactly.
We ask people, and we dive into kind of what their background is. So, one person was like really into the church. And so she was raised to think a certain way. So when she got to the dating world, she has that perspective. And then we have other people that are like, I married my sweetheart and I was married for 25 years. And then I got into the dating world and it was a big shit show. Can we go? And so
you say whatever.
We like to do. Sorry about that. Can you believe that?
Oh, no. You can say fuck, shit, man. I don't give a shit. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't care.
Gosh, it just comes out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I like it. Go.
On this topic, it's so easy. It's just like a release. Yeah.
It is a shit show, right? It is a shit show out there.
It is. Yeah. We've covered ones of like, abuse of power. So a woman that was in her job and her, her abuser, I guess, was her boss essentially first, that turned into a boyfriend. So I mean, I would say that there's a lot of
financial abuse, emotional abuse, reproductive abuse. There's the different cultures, ethnicities, religions, ages. We've seen so much and heard so much. It's pretty wild.
Wow. But even through all of them, everyone says they have a playbook. This is the love bombing, the hoovering, it's like this common thread that goes throughout all of them.
Yeah, it's really crazy to think how more recently in the past few years, love bombing has come to fruition, toxic relationships, gaslighting, all of those things. I can only imagine the stories way before that, years ago, when we weren't even, really in tune with all of that stuff. So, gosh, kudos to you guys for doing this. And you're killing it with the podcast. I mean, y'all beat me out on the relationship women in podcasting contest, but It was, you earned it. I mean, y'all are doing wonderful. So I love it. I
Thank
think it's great
you.
what you're doing. So,
Thank you.
what are some common red flags? Like based on some of the stories you've heard, what are like one or two red flags that you can go, definitely watch for this? This is something that should kind of put the hairs up on your eye. Anything you can
I
think
would
of?
say like the first one is the speed at which your relationship moves. If it's
Mm-hmm.
really fast,
Hmm.
so that you can't really think things through properly, then that
That's
should
the
be a red
intent,
flag.
right? Yeah, catch you off
Yes.
guard, always just moving along.
Yeah,
If,
exactly. And the
yeah,
love bombing. I know that's a huge term, but like when they are saying I love you, as much as
so
that feels
fast.
good, if it's within a
Yeah,
few weeks or even a few days, like it's nope, nope. Hard
yeah,
pass. You got to stop. Put the brakes on.
yeah,
If they're in love with you without knowing you,
yeah.
huge
And if they truly
problem.
are, they'll wait till whenever to tell you. Like, why do you have to tell me this now? You know,
Yeah. A healthy
it's
minded
crazy.
person will process for a lot longer than a few weeks before
Yeah,
they say that. I would say
yeah.
future faking. So
Hmm.
Brandon did that a lot with us, and we see that a lot where they're promising you this idea of a life, this
Yeah.
idea of what they're going to be or what they supposedly are. And so they always get you to hold on till then,
Yeah.
um, or believe in this idea and this fantasy. When you start experiencing that, that's a
Hmm.
huge red flag.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah.
Wow.
Another one is a lot of times they'll have a sob story for you and they go for women that are very empathetic and
Hmm.
our ex, I was abused as a kid, my stepfather was an
Right.
alcoholic, this is why I am the way I am,
Cancer,
and
you mentioned, right?
they almost look to you like you're going to make me better and fix me, and I do
Yeah.
these horrible things because of this and this situation,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
they kind of prey on your
Yeah.
compassion.
Vulnerability. And I think
So
it creates that trauma bond between you. And then you
Yes.
mhm.
feel stuck in that situation. Like you're struggling to get out of it and you want to get out, but then they guilt you right back in, right? With their
Oh yeah, I
emotions
mean
and their
Absolutely.
our
stories.
husband would say, like, he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I was on my way out at that point. And he said, did you not take our vows seriously, Amber? Like, I said,
Oh,
in sickness and in health, and I'm sick and you're bailing, and I took my vows seriously. And so again, it's like that reverse psychology of like,
Yeah.
yeah.
oh, I don't want people
Yeah.
to
And
think
you're
I'm a
like,
bad
you are
person
sick,
for leaving
buddy.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I'm out.
I have another basic one for if you first start dating. I
Yeah.
think a man that's really weird or secretive with his phone. They're
Yes.
on it a lot, or they're taking a lot of bathroom breaks, which we've
Mhm.
experienced and other people have because they're like secretly like returning
Yeah.
messages and things like
Turning it
that.
down,
So
like face down a lot, right? Trying to hide
Yeah.
probably
yeah,
any notifications
Yeah.
popping.
yes,
Kind
Or
of,
or
or two
I
phones
don't
if they have two phones.
two phones.
yeah,
That's true. Or I don't like social media. I don't use social media when in fact they probably do. They
they
probably
do.
have you
Yeah.
blocked. So if
Yes.
you can't find any digital footprint of them, whether it's a LinkedIn, a job, something's not right. They should
Yeah.
have at least something. And if they say I
Yeah.
don't use it, then you could see a unused, like my boyfriend, for instance, he doesn't use it, but he
My
has a
husband doesn't
Facebook.
either.
Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
Facebook though. It's just you can see that he doesn't, it's an old picture from 10 years ago, probably. And I can see
Yes.
that he doesn't use it, but he
Yeah.
at least has one, you
But if
know?
they're
Yeah.
on there and all their friends are like in bikinis, like 500
That's a
women,
Then
and it's
problem.
like, you know what I mean? Have you
that's a
guys seen?
sign.
I remember dating. I of course do my research and look at them, pop
Oh,
them up, like
totally.
Google them, and then
Yeah.
it was like you have 689 friends, and like 612 were like exotic looking
Yeah.
women,
Right.
probably
From
not even
Brazil.
really from
Other
this country
places. Yeah.
or women.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Well, do you
red
remember
flag.
the days? It was huge red flag, but do you remember the days in Facebook, maybe MySpace too? Years ago, they used to,
MySpace.
it would come up in your feed when your friends would comment on other people's pictures. And
Yes,
so
yes.
I remember dating someone and it came in my feed going, oh, so and so commented on this woman's picture. I'm like, oh, really? Oh,
Really?
like that's not
Yes,
good because
I
I care
remember
about your
that.
Oh.
dating.
I
Yes.
forgot about that. That got a lot of people in trouble. It's like,
Oh,
excuse
for
I
me,
sure.
know.
why
How
did, yeah, it
great
would
would
go
that
right
be
on the
now? Why they
whole
take that?
feed. Yeah. Why are you commenting that she looks great in that picture of her, like
Exactly.
laying in bed in her pajamas or
Yeah.
something? You're like,
Yeah. What are
or
you liking
whatever it
about
is.
that? Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I
Exactly.
forgot
So what
about
do you
that,
think?
Amber.
I think they fixed it.
That is wild.
I
I
think
don't remember
Facebook
that
was
one.
like, ooh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, they probably got sick of that, I would assume at some point. Probably that's why they had to get rid of it. What do you think about like giving your passcode though to somebody so brand new or telling them a lot of information about yourself, maybe your finances, all that kind of stuff? I know you want to be vulnerable, you want to share information and be transparent, but do you feel like there's a timeline for that? Like what is a good time?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I see you nodding a lot. Like what is a good
Oh,
timeline,
yeah.
do you
Oh,
think,
gosh.
to kind of
I think if
talk
it's a
about
red
that?
flag if they're asking you right away,
Exactly, right?
right? Yeah. I think if
Yes.
you're in a committed, loving relationship, maybe living together, engaged,
Yeah.
um,
You
then
can have that
financial
conversation.
information or like bank accounts,
Mhm.
that kind of a thing, I could
Yeah.
maybe, uh,
Yeah.
but, uh, but as far as
Password your phone.
passwords for social media, I think
Mhm.
that I don't know, when it's not really a big thing or a big topic. I remember my first husband, like, we used to joke around that our passwords were each other's names, but
Yeah.
we never were in a position or a place that we felt like we had to ask each other. Like, it
Yeah.
was so easy. So if you ever feel like you need that, I feel like most of the time you got caught doing something. Now I'm giving you an
Right.
ultimatum. I want your password.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I think a phone password when you're together for quite a while is not that big of a deal if you're
Not big
popping
a
on
deal.
and
Yeah.
but not right away. That would be very odd.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
completely
also,
agree.
our ex, he was a con man. So he did financial fraud as well as like cheating and all the dating romance kind of scams. But like one of the girlfriends, he used Athena actually to get her social security and driver's license information. She said, or he said to her, my ex-wife Athena won't let you around my daughter unless she does a background report on you. And so she gave
Hmm.
over her social security and her license to him,
Hmm.
only for him to say, yeah, Athena says you can't be around my daughter or
Well,
whatever. But he had
Yeah,
this
of course.
information that he could have.
all the girlfriends hate me. Or they
Oh
thought they
Exactly.
did at the beginning.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
ultimately
Wow.
got her information and could have opened credit cards and
Yeah.
things like that with
And
it.
you put spyware. So when you're dating, it's very easy for somebody to download an invisible app or become like obsessed and wondering like if you're dating other people. And so if they did have access to your phone, a laptop, it's so easy for them to
Yeah.
download stuff to see what the heck you're doing at all
Mm.
times, what you're typing. So
Wow.
listening to your calls,
Terrifying.
it
It's
is.
It
terrifying.
We
is.
had
It's
that
so
happen too.
scary.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
have that happen. I know. We need to write a book
And I
on
mean, it's just so
what not to
scary in
do.
this day and age because we don't have a lot of options out there for dating. It's really the go-to is the dating sites, and yeah,
I
you need to
know.
do your due diligence and really do your research. But
Mhm.
woof, sometimes you miss things. That's
I
wow.
know.
That's
It's a lot of
really
work
really
too. It's really a lot of work. And you kind of feel
it is
like
a lot.
It's
if I have to
exhausting.
start digging around for information, then
Already
maybe I
turned
shouldn't
off by
be.
that point. Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
kind of see that if I got to do all this work just to find out that you're a good guy. By that time, I'm exhausted. I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
next, wow.
Yeah.
So what
I mean, that's
what
kind
role?
of what I did with my current boyfriend. I sort
Yeah.
of went into it like I don't want to be a psycho stalker, FBI agent.
Mhm.
I'm so tired of doing that with my ex-husband that I want
Yeah.
to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I know what
Yeah.
that gut feeling is now. And at the minute
Yeah.
I get that with him,
You get it.
done.
You're
I'm
you're
not going to ask questions. I'm not going down the rabbit hole. I'm not spending
yeah.
hours on social media trying to find the
Yeah.
girl or what it is.
And
Yes.
yes, you're
You
just
know,
done. You're out. But
done.
that's such a good
Yeah.
point too, is what it does, how it takes a toll on you personally after going through something like that. It messes now you have trust issues and you're, having to play this detective all the time. So it puts us,
Yeah.
in this weird space and we've got anxiety and we just don't, want to be that way at all. I had an ex that was talking to multiple women throughout the entire 2 years, and I didn't know. And just to a point of like, hey, like to get affirmation from them. Oh, you're so attractive. You're this and that. And then he would set up to kind of meet them, but never actually go meet them. That's where it kind of like, he would just stop. And
He
it
loved the
started,
attention.
yeah. And I found myself, I was going nuts, because I knew it was happening, but I was trying
Yes.
to, catch it. And I would go to his house and I would just have
Yeah.
anxiety all the time, just
Yes.
walking. He'd go take a shower and I'd run because he didn't realize
Yes.
he deleted off his phone, but it would still be on his his MacBook.
Amber and I are like, yes, we
Yes.
know. Head nod, head
Been there,
nod.
done that.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I say it's the best weight loss program
Oh,
because
I got so
you're in
scared.
constant fight or flight. You can't eat. You're
Yes.
so stressed. You have the worst anxiety.
Yes.
It's like, we always laugh how we were like definitely a good 10 pounds lighter dating
Yeah.
a shithead.
So we'll thank you for that at least, right?
That's the only benefit. Probably knocked 10 years off of our life too, but
yeah, absolutely.
it's just a lot of wasted time though, isn't it? It's just, I
It
look
is.
back and I realized that I would become so obsessed with finding the truth. That I realized that I just lost so much time, so many hours, months, years trying to prove it when really you should just trust yourself. And that's when you have to definitely take that break, work on yourself, find yourself again before you jump back out there, or else it's just you'll self-sabotage.
Yeah, the next one. Yep, I agree. So what role do you think true crime storytelling plays in helping people understand the emotional and psychological impact of toxic relationships? Like telling these stories, what's been your response? Are people really understanding the severity of this? Or is it kind of just a lighthearted, like, oh yeah, that happens kind of thing?
I kind of feel like there's a couple different buckets on that one. I feel like there's the people who just want to listen for the train wreck and a good,
people love drama.
Listening experience, drama. And then there's other people who are going through it and they're relating to you and they feel validated in what they're going through. And even if they're not ready to leave yet, they can understand what's going on. And there was another lady that actually came on our show. And she works with a girl from Tinder Swindler. And I asked her, like, what advice would you give someone who's like a friend or a family member and are watching their loved one go through these types of relationships and can't get out? And she's like, you can't make the decision for them. And if you push it, they're going to go right towards that person that you don't want them to be with. So she's like, point them in the right direction. Point them to your podcast. I listened to this really great podcast about, love cons and scammer type of guys. I kind of related to some of it. What do you think? And like, let them come to the decision. So I was like, that's really good. Like, listen to these kinds of podcasts, like your podcast and our podcast, like steer them in the direction so that they can hear it and then come up to the conclusion on their own.
And be aware of it. Yeah. And I was just going to ask that how doing this podcast has affected, your relationships when you were, okay. So how long ago did you start the podcast?
2020.
Yeah,
4 years ago? So you were already remarried, Athena, or met your husband, and then you've been dating. But how did that affect? Like, I know the moment I say I do a podcast on relationships, I can see, whoa, am I going to be on it? Are you going to talk about me? Like that, right? They get so freaked out. I stopped saying it for a while. I'm always like, oh, but how did that affect any of your relationships, or how does your current partners feel about you talking about all of this?
I would say because my husband lived a part of it and saw the crazy. It was really hard going through that. And then my sister had lost her life due to an act of domestic violence in 2020. And that's when Amber and I realized that even though we're afraid of Brandon and him retaliating, we're just gonna. Amber was like, I think it's time. We need to do it. This is how serious this is. And we both decided, and we knew right then that we're going to give this our all and share stories. And I think because my husband watching me suffer with that loss, him already being aware of everything Amber and I'd been through, my daughter had been through and witnessed, daughters, I think it was still tough because no current wants to hear anything, because we start the nitty gritty at the very beginning of when we actually liked the guy, and we kind of go through the whole thing. So my husband has never listened to early episodes. He doesn't listen to many at all. But it was a little bumpy, but then on board, supportive, especially recently he was at this big like CEO meeting thing. And I remember somebody brought up Amber, my podcast, and the head guy was like, oh wait, so she's doing that and still. And and my husband started answering questions, and this woman he didn't really know very well, she was like, oh no, that's not right, and she was correcting him, and she's like telling his boss about everything, and Amber and Athena are such an inspiration. Oh my god, I'm kind of a super fan. I was like, and then Chris was like, oh, and then all these people are like, we're gonna listen, and I'm like, oh, sorry babe. So he called me, but he was really proud. He felt very proud. So it's evolved. Now we celebrate our milestones. Amber and I signed to do a docuseries with a major streamer. And he's been very supportive with that stuff. And what do you think, Amber, for you and John?
You've been approached for any documentaries or TV stuff. So that's really, really exciting. Congrats.
Yeah, we wrapped filming in October.
When will it be out?
Yep. Sometime in 2025. We don't know the exact date yet, but I'm saying around March, but
spring, summer.
Spring.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. That's so exciting. So I dabbled in a few of your episodes, and you talked about Todd Dean and John Bragg seem to be two of, the ones that were getting a lot of attention. So can you share a little bit about those stories, some of the shocking, memorable things that happened within those?
Oh my. So probably those two, two probably resemble our story the most as far as like the really outrageous scammy type of story.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And they, and I would say the Todd Dean one, those two were the ones that we also used real names versus anonymizing with some of our other stories. So those naturally get picked up more because people want to know who these dudes are. We've had people write in like, can I see what this guy looks like? Unfortunately, we can't. But Todd Dean, so we do have a free speech lawyer that we had consulted with and we had worked with for years. He unfortunately passed away recently, but he kind of led us on this path of what we can and can't say, especially if you're going to name someone's name and put them out there. So it has to be a matter of public interest. And so for Todd Dean, he had been scamming millions of dollars from people under the guise of this wellness retreat that he created. So he would lure in multiple women to invest in this company. So it was a matter of public interest. And we had so much documentation. It wasn't even funny. This guy would send daily videos of himself and text messages and pictures. And so
asking for money from all of them in so many different states. Oh my gosh. That was crazy.
And the John Bragg one, like he's actually in jail now and he's had multiple stories written up in publications throughout the years. So we knew we were in pretty good shape to use his real name as well. But those two stories actually have had production company interest as well. I can't say too much on those, but they're definitely in talks.
Oh my gosh.
Stories.
Amazing. You really are on to something. I mean, people love to hear about that stuff, whether they're dealing with it personally or just hearing about it, and it prepares people. In our day and age, I think it's great to have that kind of stuff out there. So how do you find yourself kind of balancing like such heavy, sometimes I'm sure these are very emotional content. You've got people that are, these are their livelihoods and things they've been through, and you've personally been through it, know all the agony and the heartache, all of that stuff. So how do you keep the podcast engaging and empowering for listeners while also balancing out that, that softness and trying to stay real with people?
I think it just evolved on its own from the banter that Amber and I would have through uncovering things about what we were going through and like, holy shit, and like the funny stuff. Or sometimes there's points where I remember that we have a bloopers reel where we're recording and I'm like, grab my phone, like, oh shit, I forgot, I have to pick up the kids. And this is my daycare lady. And like, and Amber's like, oh, really? And I have a glass of wine in my hand. I'm like, oh shit. It's like people have grown to love us. And so even though we know our topics very serious and we create awareness, when we're helping women tell stories, we get to know them. We can laugh at certain things. And it kind of just happens naturally a lot of the time. Or we're reflecting and we're like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Or, I did that. Or, a lot of these men, like even with the Todd Dean stuff, like they're a hoot. These women, Tennessee, they're they're more than just Tennessee, but they've all come together. They laugh, they meet up. They'll have signs when they're not with each other, holding up a picture of each other's faces next to them in photos. I mean, sometimes when you just hit your rock bottom, you need to laugh. You need people to shoot the shit with. And we try to bring a blend of the two together.
And I'm sure it creates a bit of a bond. Like you said, they feel
Yes.
validated in how they're feeling and feel like how somebody
Yes.
actually gets it. So I think
right, and we're not just podcasters; we lived it. So I think that's a huge differentiation between us, is that we're not just hosts that want to talk about these kinds of topics. Like, we lived it, we get it 100%. We've made the same mistakes that they have, and so I think there's an element of trust that maybe other people wouldn't have. So, and we also, oh, go ahead.
No, go finish.
We also, we are a little different in the respect that we allow all of our people who come to share their story to listen to every single episode and take part in the editing process so that they feel comfortable with what's being shared to the world. Being a PR person, I know how important that is, because once it's out there, you can't take it back. And so we're not in it to make money off these people, to, prey on their vulnerability, really. Like, this is their story, so they need to be comfortable with how it's being shared.
Absolutely.
And we've gotten a lot of feedback and backlash regarding ours, but the overwhelming response, the overwhelming response makes up for it. I mean, yes, I had this vision board when I was 25, and it had these things I wanted in a man, and one of them says big penis, and the amount of response I have about my big penis want, I think it was at number 10 or 9.
People, apparently.
Yeah. How dare she want a man with a large penis?
Of all the things to be upset
that are
about,
men with small penises, right?
Yes. So we can laugh about it now, but I'm just like, oh my God, calm down. Like, did you want me to write that I wanted a man with a small penis? I mean, I guess I could have left it a penis size off completely, but this was my dream vision board. Give me a break, people.
Put it out there,
Yes. Yes. So overall, I would say that so many women and men email us individually, their family members or friends, and they thank us for being so candid, so open, so honest, and they don't feel alone. Wow, I was so embarrassed. I can't believe you actually said all of those things that you did, Athena. Now I'm not so ashamed or embarrassed that I did those things. And so it's a good release, I think, for our guests when they come on at the end of the last season. We always try to ask that last question, what have you learned? And it's really a process. I feel like this weight's been lifted off their shoulders by the time they're done recording their last episode with us.
To share their story and to tell it in a way that they feel safe and they feel like they're surrounded by people that understand them and have been through the same thing. That is such a huge difference than going and telling each of your friends or your family that's never been through that situation. So I think that's huge, huge. So what advice do you have for someone who may suspect that they're in a relationship with any kind of weird love criminal? I know we're going to go back to the red flags, but what piece of advice would you give them? Just your eyes wide open, right?
I always say, their words have to match their actions. And so when you start seeing little things I like to do this, and then they don't ever do that, or you know what I mean? It's you have to you have to have that follow through. You have to have things that are aligning. But I feel like usually if you start getting that weird gut feeling, it's probably you're onto something. If you want to go down the path of being FBI agents, we can tell you everything to do for sure. But I always, at a certain point, you're like, if I'm feeling this way, I'm probably right. And I'm done. I don't even need the answer.
Show them a course on it. Do you have any kind of courses on how to figure that out?
Go on our website, Ex-Wives Undercover.com. We have multiple articles about how to spot tracking devices, how to safely remove yourself from a toxic relationship, which hopefully you listen to your gut, you don't have to deal with this, but if you find yourself needing hardcore evidence, we kind of guide you maybe on how to look for those red flags or confirm your suspicions, I suppose. So
what's public information, what's not, how to navigate
public
the court
records
system, trying to find restraining orders, trying to find any kind of record in general for someone is really hard. You have to know the county that they're from, the state
Yes.
that they're from, multiple states. Like people didn't even know that our ex was married to me because we got married in Oregon. So unless you know that he had a woman in Oregon, you wouldn't look under marriage license under that state. So yeah, we have a ton of information just as far as like, and what is public information? Like if he says I was in the military, that is public. You can find out if he was in the military, you know, like the child parenting plan stuff for me, that is not public. And so you kind of have to just hopefully trust them. But there is things, you know, like, does he own the house? Like, don't take their word at things. If he says I own this house, it's public, information. Look at the tax records on it and see who really owns that house.
Deed. Yes.
Oh God, thank you for picking up. I was trying to get you to give me your stuff where they can find you. So tell everybody where they can find your what your social media handles are, what your website is. Just give that to them again so they also have it in the show notes. But if you want to go ahead and tell them, that'd be great.
Oh gosh. Well, our website is just www.exwives with a V undercover at .com. Wait, what am I saying?
Yes.
Undercover.com. Thank you. I felt like I was doing a speaking ad. That's EWU / at. Sorry, we do a lot of speaking ads for our pod. Anyway, yeah. Amber, what is the other one? I think they're all pretty basic, right?
We're all Ex-Wives Undercover.
TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, private Facebook groups, and what's the last one? Our YouTube show. So if you bonus episodes, check us out.
Perfect. Okay, so before you go, I would love to do my little game called From Mrs. to Mids, Would You Rather? It's just 10 easy questions. It's going to be in your area of expertise for the most part. A couple are thrown in, and I'll just go back and forth. So we'll start with Amber. Would you rather find out your ex was secretly married the whole time, or that they faked their entire identity, including their name? It's just even worse.
Oh, geez. Fake their identity, I think.
We can overlook
They're
the
both
marriage.
bad. Yes. You don't want to know about the wife. That's terrible.
I know. Okay, number 2, Athena. Would you rather find out your ex was leading a double life as a secret agent or as a mediocre cover band singer who tours dive bars?
Oh, definitely the double agent. I'll take a
super cool.
I'll take that guy. CIA, FBI.
That's hot. All right, number 3, Amber. Would you rather have your ex's toxic behavior turned into a documentary or best-selling book?
Documentary.
Documentary. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, number 4, Athena. Would you rather fall for someone who makes you laugh uncontrollably or someone who gives you butterflies every time they walk in the room? How do you see butterflies?
Oh, that's tough. I think laugh uncontrollably.
Yeah, I always say this, but like everybody has a different perspective on butterflies. You know, some feel it's like that gut instinct or it's like a warning sign. So sometimes you're not sure. I think they feel great sometimes. So. Okay, Amber, blindfolded surprises or playful role play?
Ooh. Probably blindfolded surprise.
She's like D, all of the above.
Like, you want the answer.
Okay. Do I have to choose?
I know. Do I have to?
Playful role play with the secret agent, the double secret agent. Okay, Athena, number 6. Would you rather have the ability to read your partner's mind during sex or be able to control their sensations with just a touch?
Oh, shite. These are getting harder, girl.
Probably intended during sex, but I like.
Ooh. Second one, I think. Yeah.
Second one, yeah. Controlling with just a touch. I don't know that I could handle knowing what they're thinking.
Me too.
Yeah, right? I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah. That'd be rough. Amber, number
having
7.
sex and your partner's like, I hope is she not wearing deodorant right now?
I
don't know. What could they be thinking? Like,
right.
That's like a spectrum of thoughts that I don't want to know.
I know what
about.
I'm thinking, not with my current partner, but with ex ones where I'm like, you're not doing it right. Like,
yes, exactly.
Not even close.
You know?
Yeah.
So I need for them to be able to hear what my mind's thinking.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, that mean, is it for me? Like, if I had a wiener, it'd be softy. Yeah.
Isn't terrible? Okay. I know there's been many times that I'm thinking that during sex, like, oh, I wish it was harder, bigger, smaller, whatever.
Oh,
And
can
imagine
we
if
be
they
done
could
with this? Like, can we, is it over?
Is it over?
yes,
That's terrible.
I've had
it would be
bad
fun for a
experiences in
day.
the past.
Oh,
I
shite.
would love it for a day, just like one day, just to see what that's like.
Right?
That'd be fun. Okay, Amber, number 7, trying new positions or mastering the classics.
Oh, new.
No,
New
no.
positions.
Here's
Yeah.
the bar. Here's the bar, right?
It's not hard to master the classics.
She's like,
So,
mastered. I'm
yeah,
mastered.
got it. Got it. Let's do something
That's how
else.
they came up
Yeah.
with masturbate. That came up with masturbate, I think. Number 8. Okay, Athena, would you rather find out your ex was spying on you during the relationship or learn they continued to spy on you after the breakup? The lesser of two evils. I don't know.
Oh gosh, let's see. Would I rather find out that he was spying on me during or
During or
continue?
after?
Ooh, well, he did both already, so I don't know.
No. Which one is more
During, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so
I don't
too.
know. They're both creepy,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because maybe the after you attribute it to them trying to find out what you know about them or, preparing for the next one. But during, I think, is a little creepier, I'd say.
Yeah. It's all,
Number
yeah.
9, it's a hard one. Amber, would you rather discover your ex had a secret second family or that they were running a romance scam targeting multiple people? I mean, that question can be more like,
Oh, God.
which one would you rather?
I mean, I think just they're both horrible. I'd probably do the romance scam, the money scam, because
Yeah.
you have innocent children involved on the other scenario.
Yeah. Oh, good point. Good
Thinking,
point.
yeah, I don't know.
Yes. And
I think they're
last
both
question,
terrible, but
yes. Last question for both of you. Actually, slow dancing in
Ooh.
the living room or spontaneous dance moves in the kitchen? What's your vibe?
Oh, definitely. I'm dancing all day in the kitchen. I got
Dancing in the
videos out there. Yeah.
kitchen. What about you, Amber?
yeah, probably the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm not a big cook though. I might choose a living room just to
Yeah.
switch things up because I'm not really a big foodie kitchen girl. So I might just go for the living room.
Really in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I live in the
Okay.
kitchen. I slow dance in the kitchen and I get down and wild with my kids and my husband. Crazy
Yes,
dancing
you
in
do.
the
I've
kitchen.
seen the video.
I do it all. I do it all. It's just always normally in the kitchen though.
Yeah.
Yes. We have
So
a great big kitchen. It's
I
great.
do.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are fun.
Oh, thank you guys for joining me on that. I always love it. I find out some, fun information for people and, like to end on a little bit lighter note. So thank you guys so much for joining me.
Yes.
What a great episode. I would love to have you guys back at a later time and hear some more details on some of your incredible stories for those that haven't
Yes.
had the chance to tune into you guys yet. And so I will have everything in the show notes where the listeners can find you. And to the listeners out there, thank you for joining this week. You can find From Mrs. to Ms. on any major streaming platform. And you can email me with any questions or scenarios. If you're afraid to go to them, come to me. I'll get you to them. You can email me at info@FromMrsToMs.net. You guys have a great week and we'll see you next week. Bye.